everyone, today we're continuing our Everything Grows series. Just a reminder, in this video series you will learn how to start and take care of your very own garden in 11 weeks. That's 11 videos, 1 video per week, 11 minutes per video. We'll be covering everything you need to know about having a garden basics, starting seeds, and even pest control. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's talk about what we'll be exploring today in week 6. Today we'll be working towards starting our seeds. We have done a good job planning our garden so far, but we have a little bit more planning before we can get our hands dirty. Our first step today is to work on a writing research activity that will help us in creating a planting calendar. Our planting calendar will help us in determining when to start our seeds and when to transplant them into our gardens, along with a few other important items. And don't worry, we won't be sitting down all day. We'll take some time to get outside. Before we start our activities, make sure you have all the supplies you need from the materials list, including any worksheets that need to be printed off. Pause the video here now if you need time to get set up. Today our writing activity is going to be a little different. We'll be adding a research portion, so get your thinking caps on. For the first part of our research, I'll be asking you a question and guiding you through how to find the answer. For the second part, you will be doing some research on your own and writing down what you think is important. Go ahead and turn to a new blank page in your garden notebook. You will also need your seed packets for this activity. Alright, time for part 1. We're doing this together. When is the last frost date in your area? Before we answer this question, let's talk about why this is important to know. When it frosts outside, it really just means that the temperature falls to below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. When temperatures are this low or lower, it is cold enough to damage leaves and kill young plants. Knowing the last time it will frost in our area gives us a good idea of when it will be safe to have plants outside. So how do we find this information? With the help of a parent, navigate to this website. Once you get there, you'll type in your zip code in the box. Once you hit search, you will see the average last spring frost date. Take 10 minutes now and navigate to the website. Make sure you write the last spring frost in your notebook. Now it's time for part 2 of our research. This part you're going to do on your own. I want you to take a look at each of your seed packets. In your garden notebook, write down any information you find on the front or back of your seed packets that you think might be important or helpful. Take 20 minutes to work on your research and come back when you're done. Make sure to pause the video. Before we head into the next part of our lesson, we're going to take some time to get outside. If you've got snow outside, build a snowman. If you don't have any snow outside, build a mudman. Whatever you do, make sure you pause the video. Come back when you're done. Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you were able to write down some information that will help us in our next activity, creating a planting calendar. But wait, what exactly is a planting calendar, and why do we need one? A planting calendar is a calendar that farmers and gardeners use to help determine when to do certain garden activities. These activities can include starting seeds in the greenhouse, transplanting seeds outside, planting seeds in the ground, harvesting, and anything else they might find helpful with their planting. For our planting calendar, we're going to have 6 different pieces of information. Go ahead and grab the worksheet you printed off from the materials list. We will turn this outline into our planting calendar. Go ahead and write your name in the blank space beside planting calendar. Also fill in the last spring frost date for your area that you found during our research activity. The first piece of information we need for our planting calendar is the name of each vegetable we will be planting. Write down each of the 5 vegetables you picked to plant in your garden in the first column under where it says Name of Plant. The second piece of information we need is germination time. But wait, what is germination? Germination is the time it takes for a seed to become a seedling. If we think of a seed as a baby plant and a vegetable producing plant as an adult plant, then a seedling could be thought of as a child plant. The germination for each of your plants can be found on the back of the seed packet. Different ways it's listed are days to germination or seedlings emerge in. Take some time now to look at your seed packets and write down the germination time in the next column. Pause the video and come back when you're done. The third piece of information we need is the date to plant seeds in a tray. Before we can fill in this column, we need to determine whether each of our plants needs to start in a seed tray or be planted directly into the ground. To help us determine this, let's talk about transplanting. Transplanting is when you take seedlings that are big enough in trays and transport them outside and plant them into the ground. Some vegetables do not like being transplanted and require us to plant the seeds directly into the ground. Some vegetables are okay with being transplanted and also need more growing time, so they can be started indoors in seed trays. Let's take a look at my vegetables as some examples. Broccoli needs plenty of growing time until harvest, and it also does well with transplanting, so we'll put that in a seed tray. Potatoes sprout from the eye of a cut potato, and they like to stay where they're planted, so we'll direct seed those into the ground. Spinach germinates quickly and has a delicate root system. It also likes to stay where it's planted, so we'll direct seed that one as well. Cabbage is another one that needs plenty of growing time until harvest, and it does well with transplanting, so we'll do that one in a seed tray. The part of the carrot that we eat is actually the root of the plant, so we know they have a delicate root system, and they like to stay where they're planted, so we'll direct seed that. So in my planting calendar, I'm going to put an X next to the vegetables that will not be planted in a tray under the Date to Plant Seeds in a Tray column. Go ahead and put an X next to any of the vegetables you plan to direct seed. Pause the video if you need time. Now we must determine when to start the seeds we will be planting in trays indoors. For this we're going to need our math brains and a daily calendar. So we know our last frost date is May 14th, which means we can transplant our seedlings after this date. And we know our germination time tells us how long our seeds need to grow to become seedlings. Once seeds become seedlings, they need to grow to a certain size before they are strong enough to survive outside. For most plants, this is around 6 to 8 weeks. So our germination time, plus our time for our plants to go strong, will give us the amount of time until we transplant our plants outside. And the last frost date, minus the amount of time until we transplant outside, will give us the date to start our seeds in trays. Let's plug in some numbers to give us a good example. Let's do broccoli. Looking at our planting calendar, we know that broccoli takes 10 to 14 days for germination. Let's average it out and say 12. So 12 days of germination time plus 7 weeks of time to grow strong equals 7 weeks and 12 days, or 61 days till we can transplant outside. Looking at our planting calendar, we know our spring frost date is May 14th. So May 14th minus our 61 days until transplanting outside equals March 14th. This is the day that we should plant our seeds in seed trays. So I'll write March 14th next to broccoli under the Date to Plant Seeds in a Tray column. Go ahead and do this math for all the vegetables you plan to start in trays inside. Take some time now and pause the video. Come back when you're done. The fourth piece of information for our planting calendar is date to plant seeds in the ground. For some of our plants we'll be planting seeds, and for others we will be transplanting seedlings we started in trays indoors. Since we determined our number 3 information from the last frost date, we know that this is the date we plan to transplant our seeds from trays to the outside. So go ahead and write the last frost date next to the plants that you know you're seeding inside. And because the last frost date tells us when it's time for us to plant things outside, this will be a good date for planting our direct seeds as well. Go ahead and write down the same date for all of the seeds you will direct seed as well. The fifth piece of information is distance between each plant in a row. This tells us how far apart each plant should be in our vegetable bed in our garden so it can grow well. You should be able to find this information on the back of each plant's seed packet. Take some time now to look at each packet and write down your findings in the distance between each plant in a row column. Pause the video if you need time. The sixth and final piece of information we need to put in our calendar is how many seeds to plant for each vegetable. We will determine this by looking at the distance between each plant and how long our vegetable beds are. If you look back in your garden notebook notes, we determined in the last video that each of our vegetable beds will be 18 feet long. So we'll have to do some math to determine how many plants will go in each bed. So bed length divided by distance between each plant in a bed gives us the amount of plants we need to plant in the bed. Let's use broccoli as our example again. Looking at our planting calendar, we know that we need to plant our broccoli plants 18 inches apart. So our bed length of 18 feet, or 216 inches, divided by 18 inches for our broccoli plants, is equal to 12 plants in the bed. This means we must plant at least 12 seeds in our trays indoors. Just in case some of our seeds don't germinate, we'll plant a few more. So let's plant 18 seeds. Take 20 to 30 minutes to do this for each of your vegetable plants. Pause the video and come back when you're done. We've now filled in all of our columns, so our planting calendar is finished. This will be a very helpful tool for helping us start our seeds. This week we'll be using our newly made planting calendar to finally start our seeds. If you haven't already gathered your materials for starting seeds, make sure you have them for the next video. Here's a reminder list of what you'll need.